Hello. You should check my last video I just did and the one before that. The first one was How to Train Your Dragon 2, and the second one was Earth the Echo. Now it's time to movie review of The Raid 2. Now, what do I have to say about this movie? Oh my gosh. This movie is one of my favorite movies. I've seen this movie about 6 times, maybe more, I can't remember. But this movie, wow, the action in this movie alone is insane. Like, I mean, and the gore and the blood. I mean, there's a lot of it. I loved it. Uh, Now the Raid One, the action was amazing in that too. I have to admit. I mean, and the character played by Iko Uwais from the first one, he's in this one again. But in the first one, he kicked ass. He kicked those friggin' sons of bitches. He pretty much went to this building to save his brother, and you didn't really know that till about halfway through the movie. But and it turns out his brother's part of the crime family, in that building, and it's like, man, I feel sorry. And here he is trying to persuade his brother to get out of that, but then there's here he is freaking trying to stop these drug addicts, and there's this really drug king, I guess drug kingpin, who his brother works for. He goes in, but it turns out that the SWAT team he was with, one of them, the one that actually sent him there, actually was there for his own agenda, which he was wanting to get that other guy no matter the cost. And he's already been there before, so he's kind of crooked. But you don't find that out either. So that's what happened in that one, and the action was really great and everything. But in the second one, it continues that trend about crooked cops. Now it's like freaking 5 or 6 hours later after what happened in the first one, and he's already beaten up and tired, and his buddy that he saved is beaten up too. His brother stayed behind, so he never really persuaded him to come back. So anyway, so now he comes to these police officers, and they pretty much kill the one guy who sabotaged the whole thing in the first one, because they didn't want him saying anything. Because what they wanted was, they wanted the guy from the first one, Iko Uwais, the actor. They want that guy to go undercover, and they want him to join this kingpin, not a kingpin, but like a crime mob boss, like the top of the food chain of this area. So in the movie, these movies are filmed in Indonesia, and they're all foreign. So I just want to let you know that. But freaking Indonesia must be a dangerous place. But at the same time, I mean, there's always crooked people. But the whole point of him going to this crime boss is because want the crooked cops to be, found out. They want to find all of them, and the only way to do that is if he goes undercover, and he has to befriend the son of that crime boss guy, and then so he can get in and be able to help the police and kind of undercover. So then he has to deal with this whole gangster stuff. And while this is all happening, you got the gangster dad the mob boss, and you got his son who wants to take the reins, and he's jealous, and he's like, "Why, Dad? Why don't you let me do this? I'm ready for this." But his dad doesn't see it. So you got to deal with that stuff too at the same time. So there's a lot of characters and a lot of stuff going on. But the one thing that my minor gripe with the movie is that it is a little too long. I mean, some of the talking is a little too much, especially, I mean, the action, there's always action, the amazing action in between a lot of this, especially in the first hour and 40 minutes. There's, maybe about 20 minutes of talking, and then maybe 5-10 minutes of action. So you get that, but then at the last 50 minutes of the movie, I mean, it just, it goes freaking crazy. The choreography in these movies are amazing. There's freaking, like I said before, people getting freaking their heads slammed against stuff. There's freaking a character that has a baseball bat and freaking uses the bat and hits the ball and whacks people on the head. And there's this lady who her name's Hammer Girl, and she has a lot of hammers in her hand, and she's like, you see her rip people's skins off, necks, and bones, and ribs, and everything, and it's like, wow. So this movie is definitely not for the faint of heart. But at the same time, I love gore, and it definitely made me go, wow. It really, gave me that, I mean, that's not in a horrible way, but, that sense of, just, I don't know, it's like that, the reason, like you like to see gory movies. It's just really cool and see how violent it could be. But this movie is not like torture violence at all. So it's like it's more fast cut, dead, next person dead, next person dead. It's like that, so it's kind of fast and so you don't have to worry about that too bad. But definitely, if you have a faint of heart, then you should definitely not see this movie. But like I said before, the action in this movie is amazing. In the first one, they had more gunfights in that one because it's kind of cool because at first in the first one it kind of goes to like 40 minutes of them these SWAT people coming in and kind of raiding this building or whatever and shooting up and all these people and stuff. But in this one, there's not as much guns, and you're kind of like, wow, why didn't these guys just pull out their guns and just shoot this guy? Boom! Here's this guy beating up 10 people at once, and all they had to do is go, 10 people with guns, boom, 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 boom. But nobody really does in this one, so there's not really as much gunfights, and it's more about the action and more about the characters, because in the first one you get to know the characters, but at the same time, it doesn't really delve into them like too greatly. But in this movie, not even the main character himself. I mean, he has his own scenes and stuff, but I mean, there's the crime boss and his son. They have a lot of in a lot of the movie too, and there's that dynamic. So at the same time, they're pretty much bad people, but you kind of get that just like any other family, a mom or the dad and the son don't get along, and the son's jealous of the father, and then the father doesn't think he's good enough. I mean that kind of is effective a little bit. You definitely kind of feel the sadness. Then when the son betrays his dad, I mean, you kind of go, oh man, and you kind of see it in the guy's eyes when he betrays his dad. But and that's really the cool thing about the movie is that it's actually a lot of it's a gangster movie, because the main guy has to. It's kind of like Grand Theft Auto, kind of like, except the guy's undercover instead of being a criminal. Like, he gets out of jail, he befriends somebody, and then he helps people, and he helps the mob boss, do his stuff. So then he's got to, show what he's worth first. So he's got to do something first, and he kills a guy. But the guy's bad, and he's horrible, so he kind of deserved it a little bit. So, he has to, do that, and then he has to, then after he's finally in, he has to kind of be the bodyguard and help him out. So then it's kind of like, you kind of see that undercover suspenseful stuff, and then the guy you can tell he's kind of caring for the characters, the mob boss and the son, and that's pretty good too. But it can get a little boring a little bit, especially like I said before, there's big action and calm talking, and then big action, calm talking, and then big action. But don't let that get in the way, because I mean, even if you're not interested with the characters at all and don't give a shit about any of them, you still get to see the badass action, the gore, and the violence, and everything. So that really alone is just worth this movie. But if you like a movie with lot more character development and a lot of character interactions and a lot of suspense between them and what goes on between these characters, and want that little extra oomph to it with the action, then this movie is for you. I can talk for this movie for hours. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of hidden meanings. The choreography is amazing. Some of the sounds, like some of the punches get, the sound of it kind of gets a little repetitive. But, I mean, what action movie doesn't? So, and especially this one's trying to have a lot more fist fights. So I wouldn't let that bother you none. But, I mean, if you love martial arts action, love just action in general, or you love foreign movies, or if you love a good movie, then you should definitely just go see this one. Now, the director of this movie is Gareth Evans. And it's funny because these movies are all foreign. The first two movies are foreign, but the guy who made it is American. Which he also did a segment on VHS too. He did the one with the crazy-ass Colt, which was considered one of the best shorts in a long time. And I agree with that. And guess what that's in? Indonesia 2. And there's that character in the movie who plays the cult leader in VHS 2. Well, guess what? He plays a different character in the Raid 2. So then but it's like, if you never really seen VHS 2, you wouldn't have guessed it. Or if, you didn't see the other one and you saw him in that one, you wouldn't have really guessed it either. Because he has a small part in the Raid 2. But in that one, he's, in the whole short, and he's one of the main characters. But that guy, he's one of my favorite directors. There's a movie he did back in 2008. It's another action movie, and that's the first time he had Iwo Ukwe's to be in one of his movies. And he met him somewhere in Indonesia and started putting him in his movies. Um, and the sad thing is now is they're doing a remake of The Raid, and it's directed by a guy who's gonna do the upcoming Expendables 3. And I'm kind of anxious to see what he does because he says he's a really big fan of that and he wants to kind of give that feeling of those movies and kind of have the same spirit of them. So he better not be lying because I will kill him. Now, anything Gareth Evans does from now on, I'm going to be paying attention, and you should too, because this guy can direct horror, he can direct action. I mean, even some of his movies have even VHS 2 and these movies have this dark humor to it. Even though some people will be like, "Oh man, that's horrible," but there are some moments that are dark, but then it makes you chuckle or laugh, even though you know you shouldn't. So this guy is definitely someone who really loves the craft of film. He makes his movies. He doesn't care what the censors think. He's gonna put whatever the hell he wants to put in his movies, and he's really smart because guess what? I mean, what better way to save money than go to a foreign country and filming a movie there? Because the movie, when you watch the movie, you would think that the budget was about $20 to $30 million, but it's only 4.7. 4.7. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I mean, just this guy, he takes his resources and he takes his time. I mean, he spent like a whole year doing this movie, and like probably like 2 years just like pre-production on this movie. I wouldn't. I'm not 100% sure, but that you can tell this guy loves the craft of film. Watching these movies, watching the VHS 2 and that, and you should definitely look forward for him. And I think he's gonna make The Raid 3 in the next couple of years, but he wants to kind of, because I mean, really most of the movies he's done are action movies or martial arts movies. So I think he wants to move on for them for a little bit, or rest from them. So maybe he'll do another horror movie, except for a full horror movie this time. I mean, it could be American, it could be in Indonesia, who knows? But The Raid 2, great action. I like the characters. I thought they were good, but some people might not. So if you're that, just watch for the action. Alright. Well, I know I'm getting a little boring here because I'm talking about this movie too much. But like I said, I love it too much. But anyway, I got one more movie review to do. It's called The Suspect. And it's one of those movies that it's actually a first-time director. And it's very, 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 very independent. Really cheaply made, but at the same time, I mean, it's a pretty good movie. You should definitely listen to my review. Well, anyway, definitely go see The Raid 2. Go see the first one first if you have to. But you don't have to if you don't want to. But you should. Anyway, I guess I'll see you in a little bit. Alright, well, good luck.